Hello, everyone with us and on Zoom tonight. Welcome to the Duxbury Free Library, first of our candidate and budget forums. These events will be available for viewing on the Duxbury website as well. I am Lester Lloyd, Chair of the Library Trustees. I'm assisting Martha Dennison, our Vice Chair, who organized this event. I'm pleased to welcome our three candidates for the select board. They are Derek Bennett, Brian Glennon, and Mike McGee. And I thank Josh Cutler, who will be moderating this event.
All right. Thank you, Lester. Great job. Welcome to everyone in the audience. Welcome to folks tuning in online. We're using the owl, so we can't really quite tell where the camera is, but hopefully we're looking at the camera. Thank you to the three of you for serving for the town or wanting to serve the town. As someone who used to serve in state government, I can attest to the importance of what you're doing, and we really appreciate your willingness to step forward and share your time and talents with the community. So we have a few housekeeping items to get through, then we'll dive right in to the substance of our candidate forum. I've already gotten some good questions from the audience. Just a reminder to the folks in the audience, if you do have a question, we have some great questions already prepared, but if you have a question that doesn't get asked, feel free to write down any suggestions on the piece of paper up there, and Lester will grab it and he will bring it down and we'll try to work it in. And if we don't get to your question, the candidates have kind of agreed that they'll stick around a little bit and try to do their best to answer questions after the event as well. Sound good? All right, so we've thanked Martha and Lester for all the great work, and the Friends of the Duxbury Free Library, the Duxbury Library Trustees for hosting this event this evening. Again, my name is Josh Cutler. I'm not a candidate, just to be very clear. I am the moderator tonight. Just wanted to mention there's a couple other forums that are coming up very soon for folks. Number one, there's on Thursday, March 5th, there's a forum on the override. That'll be also right here in the Mary Room, Duxbury Free Library. It's March 5th from 6 to 8 p.m., moderated by none other than Fernando Guitar. On Thursday, March 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. right here in the Mary Room, there will be a forum on the candidates running for school committee, Matt Gambino and Ann Holland, also moderated by Fernando. You're going to have a busy couple of weeks. And then finally, Wednesday, March 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. here, there'll be a candidate forum for the candidates running for the Board of Library Trustees, for the Board of Assessors, and the Housing Authority. And we're giving Fernando a break for that one, and that will be moderated by Cindy Ladd Fiorini. So lots of good civic engagement going on over the next 2 weeks. Thank you for everyone for volunteering to do that. A couple of quick important dates. We have annual town meeting coming up on Saturday, March 15th at the PAC, starting at 9 a.m. And then, of course, the annual town election, which will be Saturday, March 28th. Polls open from 9 to 6 p.m. at the Timothy Steele Athletic Building on St. George Street.
There's also early voting, Josh.
And there is early voting. Thank you. Thank you for that. It was not on my list here. All right, quickly, we're going to dive right in. Just quickly, the format for our forum. This is not intended to be a debate, but more of a candidate conversation, candidate forum. This is being streamed live, thanks to the owl, and will also be rebroadcast on social media. I'm sure we'll read about it in the Clipper. We're going to alternate. Different folks will each go first. I'll have a chance to alternate through. You get 2 minutes for your response. Lester here, where's Lester? Is going to be the time. Lester's chatting with audience members. Lester is going to be giving you the high sign when your time is up. I don't want to interrupt anybody, so just do your best to kind of wrap it up when you get that sign, so we can make sure we get to all the questions here.
We're going to be wanting to interrupt.
Well, give me the sign. We have shared a list of the topics with the candidates ahead of time, so they're familiar with the candidates. They're familiar with the topics. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we encourage audience participation. If you have some questions, please write them down and give them to Lester, and we'll do our best to work them in. And I thank the folks. I got a couple of good questions already, so we'll definitely get to that. So without further ado, just want to reintroduce the candidates, and then we'll dive right in. We have Derek Bennett to my immediate right, a resident of Myrtle Street, running for Select Board for the first time. We have Brian Glennon, a resident of Colonial Drive, a current Select Board member, running for re-election to a second term. And we have Mike McGee, a resident of Tremont Street, also a current Select Board member, running for re-election for a third term. All right. So we're gonna dive in, folks, and for this first question, we're gonna start with you, Brian, then we're gonna just rotate around, okay? Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, so this is the easy one, or the hard one, I guess, it depends. If you could take 1 to 2 minutes to introduce or reintroduce yourself to Duxbury, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you proudest of from your time on the select board to date, and or why are you running for a seat on the select board?
Thanks, Josh.
Take it away.
First, I'd like to thank the library trustees for this forum. It's important. I'm glad that folks came out watching online, either live or later. I also want to take a moment to thank both Mike and Derek. This is not easy to be up here, not easy to be a candidate, putting yourself out for public display in a couple of different ways. So I want to thank you both for your service and your willingness to serve. A little bit about me, as Josh mentioned, I'm out in the woods on Colonial Drive, it's over by Chandler School, been in town for almost 20 years. I served for over a dozen years as an elected member of the planning board before joining the select board. I was a member of the open space committee for over a dozen years. I've served on a number of ad hoc committees in town as well, such as the town council search committee. I've also served on the planning director search committee 2 planning directors ago. I've been very involved in the town. I've been an assistant scoutmaster for the only girls troop BSA had in Duxbury. Also served in a number of volunteer capacities over the years. So I'm well invested in the town, and I'm very proud of my service giving back. I think it's very important to give back to your community wherever you live. And again, that's one of the reasons why I thank my colleagues here on the stage, because we all have a desire to serve and make our town the best that it can be. Some of the things I'm most proud of in my 3 years, which by the way has gone very, very fast. I feel like I just got sworn in, and here we are again for re-election. It's really been the collegiality of the members of the select board. There are 5 of us. No one person directs the town manager. You know, we have a town manager form of government, so the day-to-day is set forth by a professional that the select board oversees. But one of the things that I've been most proud of is being able to work with my colleagues on the select board. We all have different points of view on certain things, but we come together at least once a year to put together a set of shared goals that we expect to happen over the next year. We'll be doing that soon in April after the election, and I look forward to the next round. I see Lester's telling me a good time's up. Sorry, I talk a lot, so thank you. Happy to be here. Ask for your vote. Thank you.
Sorry, Mike, and then Derek.
Thank you. And thank you to Derek and Brian for this forum, and thanks to you folks for coming out in this terrible weather. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's important to have this civic engagement and to have this opportunity to hear from the candidates. A little bit about me. I'm running for a 3rd term. I was elected in 2021. It's been a very busy 5 years, and I echo what Brian said about the collegiality. I've really enjoyed working with the other members of the select board and our town manager, Randy Reed, who's also here tonight. And, you know, we might disagree on things, but we all disagree with professionalism and work together to try to improve this community. Again, a little bit about me. My wife Amanda and I have 2 daughters in the Duxbury Public Schools. I'm a youth coach. You'll probably see me out in the fields or in the basketball courts every season, doing that for probably 5 or 6 years now. By trade, I'm an attorney. I'm a prosecutor. I've been doing that for 15 years, serving victims and their families at some very difficult and challenging times, and ensuring that defendants have the right to a fair trial and administered justice. I think that's important here because one of the things, or the most important thing that I can think of that I'm proud about, is leading with empathy. I was a chair for a year, and I tried to really encourage stepping in the shoes of the folks that were in front of us, and encouraging debate, encouraging open open time for people to discuss the issues that were important to them. The meetings went on a little bit longer, but I think it was really important for folks to get things off their chest, to bring those issues out. It's your meeting, it's your select board, and I really wanted to encourage that. It's something I'm most proud of, and I think that's something that we should be continuing to do as we go forward.
Derek.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Derek Bennett. My family and I have called Duxbury home since 2008. My wife Nicole and I have been married for 33 years and have raised 3 children in Duxbury. Running for select board to bring open dialogue, transparency to the residents, to make sure that their voices are heard and lifted to the select board meetings, and that we're making thoughtful, practical decisions for all the residents in town. When I first moved to town, sorry, I'm a little nervous tonight, first time.
We'll take it down.
Just early on in town, I was a youth lacrosse, assistant youth lacrosse coach, was involved in Duxbury youth lacrosse. And, let's see, so, I'm sorry, a little nervous.
That's okay, Derek, all right?
Yeah, we can move
Well,
on.
no, I mean, I'll try to pick back, I'm sorry. So in my career, I'm a licensed Massachusetts electrician. Throughout my career, I've worked on major infrastructure projects and tunnel projects, including the Deer Island Outfall Tunnel, which carries treated wastewater offshore. I've also worked on the Metro West Water Supply Tunnel, that carries drinking water to Boston and the surrounding communities. And so I think, I've also, as an electrician, worked on, complex electrical and life safety systems, which involve, strategic budgeting around the projects and, sorry, I'm still nervous.
All right, well, let's dive in and then
I
we'll
apologize.
get this shaken off. That's all right.
Yeah.
So we're here on a kind of snowy, yucky night here, which reminds us all of the recent storm. And so the first question, and this will be to Mike and then Derek and Brian, and we'll kind of keep going in that order. So storm management. Last week, a major storm hit Duxbury, closing roads and knocking out power to thousands of homes. Please identify 1 or 2 things that you think the town did well in handling the storm, and maybe 1 or 2 things that you think the town could have done better.
Well, it was probably the biggest storm that I've endured in my lifetime, from a snow and wind perspective. And I commend our public safety, our police, our fire and DPW, and also our facilities department, for really stepping up, and doing their very best to try to get these roads cleared, get the schools opened up, and to get those sidewalks cleared. It was a tremendous effort. They put their lives and their safety at risk. We had several plow drivers go off the road. And I know you all got the updates from Rainey. I don't know if he slept for probably 4 to 5 days, quarterbacking all of the providing information to the public, and also making some tough decisions about how the town would address such a storm that impacted the coastal towns here, from Situate all the way down to the Cape. We knew about it. We knew this was going to be, but when you saw that eye of that storm just swirling around the south coast there, we got hammered. And so I commend our departments for doing such an incredible job under those circumstances. When we had a windstorm, I want to say it was nor'easter, back in 2022, we had some issues with electricity, and I asked that Eversource come in and explain why we weren't up so quickly. Again, the Thursday after the storm, I asked our town manager to bring in NEMA, Eversource, and our emergency services team to provide the public some input about what went wrong, what went right. Because I think a lot of things did go right, and so that we can learn from this. I think it's an important service to the town, and I hope that we'll have that discussion at an upcoming select board meeting.
There.
Sure. Yeah, so perhaps I'm not as privy to some of the information that's available on the town, but just what I followed on perhaps social media or the town website, as far as response to the storm. So yeah, it was a historic storm. I commend the DPW, public safety, for their response in working with the resources available to them, staff. Should not go unrecognized. Some things I've been looking into that I think we could do better at, perhaps is communication. And I was looking around the town website, I didn't find any information about emergency management or preparedness. So I think maybe we should have a strategic plan going forward that really prioritizes street clearings, egress and ingress into the town. And make sure that those routes are taken care of first and foremost. And then also for the community to be able to follow along with street prioritization, so parents know whether their children are going to school the next day, or, you know, parents are going to work and will they be able to do that? So I think we could kind of outline some of those things and perhaps even form a committee or advisory committee to to get us an outline for storm preparedness and emergency management. So I think those are some of the things we could look into.
Brian?
Great,
Thank you.
thank you. I echo a lot of what Mike had to say in terms of what went right. This was an historic event. I was around for the Platoon of 78, so I do remember that. I was a little smaller then. But I was trying to explain to my kids, you know, what the similarities were and the differences were. And certainly the big difference was we had a lot more notice this time around. It didn't just sneak up on us like almost 50 years ago. But with that said, I did, and looking at Fernando, I know he was at Emergency Operations Center as well during the storm, and I had the opportunity to stick my head in, trying to stay out of the way, but just observe what was actually going on. And I was blown away by what a well-oiled machine it was. The fire chief had the wherewithal in advance of the storm to notify the National Guard that we would likely need assets and people, which I thought was a tremendous feather in his cap for having the foresight to do that. We can all look at our own streets and say they could have been done better. In fact, Derek, I think, and it was either your PAC TV speech or it might have been your website. I think you made the point that resonates with me, which is you experience local government on your street, basically. So it's what's immediately around me is what I think the town is. And I think you made a good point there. And as I looked out my window, 3 days on, and I was still snowed in. Contrary to popular belief, we don't get plowed any faster than anybody else. In fact, I think to the contrary, but with that said, my hat's off to everybody. There are absolutely things that could have done better. I don't know what those are right now, because we haven't done a post-mortem, and anybody who was at the select board meeting last night, you may recall during open forum, I mentioned that we need to do a post-mortem, if that's the right term, on the storm. Not to point fingers, but just to determine in our unsettled weather future, which could happen in another 50 years, maybe happens in another 5, that we're ready. And to Derek's point, that we have systems and processes in place that we can sort of break glass, pull handle, and execute on those. But nothing's perfect. I certainly wish my street were plowed a little faster and a little wider, but we're all in this together. And sorry, Lester, just one more thing. One thing that really blew me away, and I should have expected it, but I was really happy it happened, was the camaraderie in the neighborhoods of the folks who banded together with the snow blowing teams going up and down the streets with the shoveling each other out. That's what community is, and it was demonstrated in full color here in Duxbury over the last week. And I commend our residents for picking up the shovels and snow blowers and helping one another out. It's very impressive. Well said.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Next, not right now, sir. Our next question is about the budget and override vote. And I actually had a very similar question come from an audience member. I'm gonna go with the audience member's question. The upcoming ballot asks voters to approve a $1.89 million operational override, including full-day kindergarten, as well as the Alden MSBA feasibility study. Question is, do you support both measures as currently written? And if voters approve them, will you commit to fully implementing them in good faith and without attempting to scale them back? Sorry, I believe our first up is Derek.
Sure. So
Do you want me to read that again, or
what should I touch on first? Sorry.
it's up to you, sir. You can actually read that if you like, if that's easier. touch on whatever you like.
So I guess in regards to the override, I think that what I hear from residents is that they would like to, sorry, go ahead. No, sorry. I have my thoughts, I just gotta collect them. Sure. Yeah, so with regards to the override, I think that, personally, I am not in favor of the 5B budget, particularly because I think a lot of these, given the uncertain economic, yeah, sorry, I'm fumbling there. It's been a long day, but I'm so sore. I'm going. Yeah, no, well, personally, I'm not in favor, just because I think we could do a better job, with discussion, transparency, getting the residents more involved. Personally, I try to follow along, and it's sometimes difficult, to know what we're spending on and where it's coming from. I'd like to see core and essential services funded first in our 5A budget, including public safety, police, fire, and the schools, and kind of work through what we have for an operational budget. And I think we owe that to the town and listening to residents. And I think, long-term tax increases are compounding, and, that might fit some folks in town through their lifetime, but we have other populations in town, growing families with young children, seniors, that I think their voices should be considered and respected. So I think more dialogue, discussion before we move forward with a 5B budget.
Brian,
Just 2 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, this is a
you
pretty,
didn't do 2 minutes last time.
so short answer is yes to both. I don't want an override, but I think we need an override. One thing I want to be clear on is, when we started the override discussion, it was a larger number. It was, $2.8 million. And the reason for that was we built in some excess levy capacity. I won't go into that at the moment. But it would have increased the number higher than I personally was comfortable with. And I realize the wisdom in municipal finance as to why we would have done that. But at the end of the day, what I think is resonating with most folks is the actual number that we're voting on. And I endeavor to have that number as close to zero as possible. I want to live within our 2.5 means. I'm a taxpayer. I don't want the government to have unfettered access into my bank account and into my wallet. With that said, I've been privy to the details of the budgeting process, and I know we've squeezed quite a lot out of all facets of our local government. We all live here for a particular reason, and it's not because we're in a convenient commuting distance to Boston. There's something about the character of Duxbury that we all love. For some, it's the bridge. For some, it's the beach. For many of us, it's the outdoors, our open spaces. All those things cost money. And if we want to preserve what we have, then we need to account for it through our taxes. So I don't want to do an override, but in order to preserve the things that make Duxbury Duxbury, I think it's something that I'm personally going to support. It's not something that I want to do. With respect to the Alden debt exclusion, that's also a large number, and I wish it weren't so big. Anyone who's had kids go through Alden, and I've had 2 go through Alden, my kids are both in college now. And when they were at Alden years ago, there were issues with Alden. I think any of us who have any familiarity with the school, whether it's 20 years ago or today, know that something needs to be done. Well, what is that something? The group that's behind or putting together the proposal for the study through the MSBA, I think has done a good job in terms of identifying what's necessary. I think it's a difficult sell, however, that MSBA is requiring us to be so detailed in a feasibility study. So these are not easy answers. They're not things that I would have waved the flag around saying I'm absolutely behind these under any circumstances. I do think they represent real needs in the community. And for that reason, I plan to support both of them.
Mike, you can take a little extra time if you need it too. Just to be fair.
I also support recommended both articles as a select board. The taking a step back, most of the suburban towns right now are facing in decreases in revenue, state aid. I know there's folks here from the States, so no offense, but it's been declining for years. And that, it comes in the form of a number of things, but in particular, school aid. On the other side of that, we have massive increases in expenses, utilities, and most notably, health insurance has gone through the roof. So where we're left is we're squeezing a lot out in our towns, trying to preserve the services that our communities demand. And that's where the fiscal responsibility comes in. We really have to, as select board members, balance the needs that folks demand in this community, and also be mindful of how that impacts people's tax bills. So going with the override, it's been now almost a 2-year process from the town side. We've dissected the different departments. I've attended finance committee meetings. We've had a number of meetings on revenue, and some of the bigger departments have come before us and discussed their needs. And we've had a lot of input. We've had opportunities to set goals for our town manager. We've had opportunities before the budget letters went out, and we've had an opportunity to look at the budget before Mr. Reed presented it in December. There's been community input at every stage, and we learned a lot of lessons. This is a much smaller override, and like Brian, I also didn't ask for that excess levy because I think in the future years, this town deserves that transparency to know where that money is going to be spent. And I think that's an important thing. I understand, again, the wisdom that Mary had for adding that excess levy, but I think the town wants to know where their dollars are spent. I know that as a taxpayer, and I think that's an important piece. With respect to the Alton feasibility study, that is a proposal by the Alton building. I have a daughter at that school. I've had a daughter go through it. I understand the weather issues and the maintenance issues here, but for $52 a year for 3 years, I'm willing to learn what we could do as a town, whether it's renovation, replacing the building, or putting some kind of building somewhere else, and knowing our options. That's worth it to me as an average taxpayer here in town for $150 to know what the best course of action. We don't have to do it, but it keeps us into the MSBA game, and I think that's an important thing to do.
Thank you. And just a reminder for our folks tuning in online back at home, if you would like to suggest a question, please put it in the chat, and I think Martha will somehow figure out a way to get those to me. Okay. And sir, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry, that wasn't able to address your question. If you do have questions though, you can certainly write it on a piece of paper and we'll pass them forward. And we'll happy to get to them at the end. Okay. So we've had a couple of kind of heavy duty questions. So just for a little bit of a change up, I have some, these aren't on your script, but some lightning round questions that we're going to do. All right. These are easy. All right. I think they're easy. So the 3-part question. All right. Whose turn is it first?
I think it's me.
Brian, okay. So can you?
Mike. It's Mike's.
So I want to know the last book or streaming series you read or watched, your favorite place in Duxbury, and who is someone you admire? Just in one word or a couple words. Last book or streaming series you watched, favorite place in Duxbury?
Contracts, counts, books.
No.
All I read.
And who is someone you admire?
All right, so books, so I'm currently reading, it's an old one, and I don't know why I'm reading it, but it's interesting. It's called The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. Talks about, well, I don't.
These are lightning rounds, so.
Okay, all right. So in the preamble, so I'm reading that now. My favorite place in Duxbury, that's a tough one because I love the whole town. I'm gonna have to say the beach. I gotta pick something. And then what was the last one?
Who is someone you admire?
Oh, well, no question. That's Josh Cutler, our former state representative. He's really been a figure in town that we can all admire in discharging.
That won't get you any easier
service.
questions, Brian.
Honestly, Josh, I mean, you've done a lot for the town over a lot of years. You've taken a lot of slings and arrows while you were up on Beacon Hill. We didn't always see eye to eye on issues, but you're always there for our community. And if we had 10 more like you, I think we'd be in much better shape.
All right, thank you. Mike, so book or streaming, favorite place, someone you admire?
So I'm a girl dad, and a youth sports coach for female teams. After our select board meetings and on the weekend, you'll find me watching a lot of women's college basketball, a lot of WNBA. I love it. I don't even watch men's sports anymore. So I might watch a little Celtics, but that's what I do. I enjoy it, and I think it's a beautiful game, and I love to watch it. The second, that's an easy one. My happy place, sitting out on the beach, driving the Jeep over the dunes, walking down on that beach with a girl right next to me is my favorite place in Duxbury. And I advocate for it year round because I know I'm not alone out there. It's thousands of people and their families enjoy that beach. The person I most admire. So I could talk about this guy for an hour, but my 93-year-old father, Paul, is a elected town meeting member down in Plymouth. He's sitting on a disability committee, and he's on the cable committee down there. 93 years old. He's still doing it. He's been doing it his whole life. We had fundraisers at my house when I was 10 years old. John Kerry still owes him $1 for buying him soda during the Brighton Day Parade at the Palace Spa. I've heard all the stories. He has been involved in helping out his community his entire life. His brother used to sling his palm cards out in front of the streetcars in Brighton when he ran for office. I learned everything from him about serving my community. I admire him so much, and I'm just glad he's around to share those stories. And he talks a lot, and I hear all about the disability committee and what they're doing down there. I hear all about he's doing the Comcast and everything about cable I would never need to know. He's doing, so I'm so proud of him. And I only hope that I can be half the man that he is.
All right, thank you. Derek,
Yes.
it is lightning round. I let that one go long because that was a very nice, touching story. So again,
I have a feeling I'm gonna-
last book or streaming series, favorite place in Duxbury and someone you admire.
I think I would concur with Brian and Mike that my favorite place is also the beach. It's just a nice place to relax and unwind, and we've been doing it for years, even prior to moving to town. So yeah, it's quite the place. Second question was, sorry.
A favorite book
Oh.
or streaming series?
So to be honest, I don't watch a lot of television, but what I do watch is probably Animal Planet, and I have my son Derek, who can pretty much narrate any episode for me, so I look to him for that, but usually just a calm, peaceful, relaxing evening, perhaps, but honestly, not a lot of television, so. Let's see, lastly, I was thinking about this briefly, and I think early on in my career, we'll go back to the 90s, I was working with a laborer, whose name was Peppy, and I think he just taught me a lot of hands-on. He was a joke teller, he was a gardener, just a lot of basics to help you get by in life, from concrete work to laying pipe, just anything, but he was just very inspirational, and just kind of showed me that if you put your head down, go to work every day, that you can make something for yourself and your family. So he was probably the biggest inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll get back to our more serious questions, but those were, I think, revealing, so good. I think all of you mentioned Duxbury Beach, so very appropriate. A more serious beach question. Duxbury Beach is often a top reason that families identify when asked why they chose Duxbury as their home. The beach protects Duxbury Bay and our houses and businesses, but the town doesn't own it. Town meeting votes to rent the beach each year for $1 million, to hire staff to manage it, and to sell beach access stickers for the parking lot and oversand to help cover the costs. It's been controversial in recent years as the state and federal government restrictions to protect beach birds have limited vehicle access. Can you tell me how you view the role of the beach in our town and where the select board should be putting its efforts? I believe Mike, right, yeah, it's you first.
Well, if you know me, this has been a top priority since before I got on the select board. I advocated for increased access to Duxbury Beach from day one. I spend all year advocating for it. This is something that I feel strongly about, both from a quality of life perspective. Any restrictions on access out there impact people's enjoyment of the beach, but it also impacts our economic issues. We have lost considerable revenue over the last decade, or more than a decade, from beach sticker sales. We've heard from local businesses on the pathway in there and around Duxbury. They haven't sold as many pizzas, that they aren't selling as many ice creams and clothing and everything else. These are small business owners, and it's impacted their bottom line. That's why I care about this so much. I work tirelessly with Save Duxbury Beach, Duxbury Beach Reservation, who holds the permit, our town manager, Duxbury Beach Operations. I spent hours meeting with state officials, trying to understand what the issues are, what kind of impediments there are to access throughout the year. And it is a moving target. It is week to week. We are trying to decide whether to use a take, as they call it, or so we can get some cutouts open or get the third crossover open. And through it all, I'm communicating with people, trying to understand what's open, and I'm out there. We've done a great job with it over the last 5 years. We've increased access. Like I mentioned, the cutouts that was added this past year. We were able to get more crossovers open with deterrence, and I think we need to keep pushing, keep utilizing the resources that we have. We have a great director at our beach operations, Save Duxbury Beach, as a consultant. That's been fantastic. And I think we need to keep pushing because it is so important to us as a community.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll just jump on. What Mike said is, I think the beach is fundamental to many residents, and I think we need to have deep discussions and determine a way where regulations and recreation can coexist to serve all of the residents of Duxbury. I know that there's some great efforts by Save Duxbury Beach to kind of open up dialogue and have that communication with Duxbury Beach Reservation. So I think that's crucial. I don't know all the steps. I know that just sitting on the sidelines, like many residents, that I want more access to the beach. And so I think my approach would, if elected, would be to just work with those parties and, try to get to a better way to just more consistent open access. I think in the last couple of years, Mike, I think there's been advancements, but I also think that, there's more work to do. And I'm interested in learning how we go about that process and keeping the public informed about it. So I think it's crucial that we have more recreation.
Thank you, Brian.
So I'm lucky, when my kids were little, there weren't a lot of restrictions on getting out to the beach. We throw our stuff in the back, go out, throw the grill down, spend the day. Sometimes a little tight with cars, but it wasn't an issue with birds or restrictions or anything like that. We don't have that now. And it's very frustrating. In a way, the state and the federal government have, at our expense, been victims of their own success with the numbers of birds that come every summer. There's more and more every summer. If you look at the rates, it just keeps going up. And at some point, it's it's going to be unsustainable. Frankly, I think we're already there. I want for you and your kids what I had with myself and my kids to get out there. We have 3 feet of snow outside. We're all itching to get back out to the beach. It's a very short season. Mike, I know you're there all year long. I'm kind of more of a fair weather person out there, but we need to be out there. It's a resource, yes, to protect the bay, for sure. But it's part of our community. It's the reason many of us live here is to enjoy that precious resource. One thing that Mike has been leading on that you haven't mentioned yet, and our representative Ken Sweezy is leading on as well, is trying to pare back the rights that the state has in regulating our use of the beach for non-endangered birds. In fact, there was a hearing either this morning or it's tomorrow morning. And the select board last night indicated that we're going to submit comments in favor of those bills. There's three of them. Hopefully it'll be reported out of committee and the state will have less power to tell us what we can do with our own beach in terms of using it when non-endangered birds are there. So we have taken some steps. It's very difficult. There's lots of different interests there. As Josh, as you mentioned, we don't own it. It's not the town's beach, contrary to popular belief. We do lease it every year. So there are restrictions on what we can do as a municipal entity in granting rights to property that we lease but don't own. So I'm with Derek and Mike in that we need to do whatever we can, whenever we can to push back and reassert the rights for the citizens and the red stickers as well, to get out there and enjoy a tremendous resource that we all appreciate.
All right, I think we went around, right? Great. All right, well, so you can't get to the beach without going over the bridge, or in most cases. So we have a question about the Powder Point Bridge. And this will be up. So we're Mike first. So Derek, this will be you up first. Our bridge has been a symbol of Duxbury and is deemed iconic by many residents. Yet there have been ongoing safety issues as the traditional timber pilings have made maintenance challenging. MassDOT has offered to replace the bridge, but that will mean change and losing its reputation as the longest wooden bridge. Continuing to repair the bridge ourselves appears to be an expensive venture. As a select board member, how would you recommend moving forward with ensuring the safe accessibility of the Powder Point Bridge?
Sure. Well, I did attend the most recent presentation by the Department of Transportation. But I've also heard from residents that perhaps the process to get us there was not discussed openly or transparently with residents. So I think what I've heard and what I'd like to look into if elected would be possibly a feasibility study that aligns with some of the folks in town that really want a historic wooden bridge preserved. I think both options make sense, and I think that just more dialogue with residents, the select board, and interested committees should be heard, and we should have more open discussion about it. But so perhaps a feasibility study to see what it looks like for an all wooden bridge, or perhaps concrete pilings underneath. We know that we need a new bridge. I think it's also worth considering. I think the DOT's proposal might have the bridge out of commission, could be anywhere from 8 to 10 years. And I think I've heard, and I don't know because we haven't had a real study done, but perhaps a wooden bridge, maybe less time than that, maybe 2, 3, 4 years. So I think those are all things to consider when deciding, what's best for the town and what's best for the residents on bridge replacement. Thank you.
So I approach it a little differently. Have a bridge that's iconic to the town. It's on our seal. It's on the hat that I have from 375 that Josh sold me. It's iconic, and we all love the Powder Point Bridge. For whatever reason, and I'm sure all of us can point to something, it's in a state of disrepair. We spend as a town not less than $300,000 a year on maintenance and repairs. It's in the ocean 24/7. It's constantly subject to the environment, to the elements. We need to do something. The price for maintenance on this existing structure is likely to go up to $500,000 after next year. That's unsustainable. We need to do something. So starting with that point, I look at it from the perspective of what can we do? Now, there are some folks in town, and I'm very eager to listen and hear about replacing a wooden bridge. So far, however, all that we have before us is a proposal by Mass DOT to replace the bridge. It's a $172 million project. We're looking at a $1.8 million override. There's no way I'm gonna ask the taxpayers of Duxbury to front the money for millions and tens and hundreds of millions of dollars for a new bridge. It's simply something we cannot do as a community. So the question becomes, do we continue to pursue the proposal that Mass DOT has put before us? And personally, I think Mass DOT has done a tremendous job so far in listening to the town and taking our issues into consideration. I know that not everybody is satisfied with that process. I'm sure at the end of the day, whatever we decide, there are going to be folks who disagree. I want to be cognizant of the fact that all three of us up here have said the beach is our favorite place. We need to get there. If we don't have a bridge, for whatever reason, the only way to get there is through Marshfield. And any of us who've driven that way know that that road is in a difficult situation and it floods. So if we're going to be sustainable as a town and use our resources wisely and have access to a facility to a resource that we all know and love, I think we need to look at the current proposal very, very carefully, but also keep an open mind as to what potentially could be what we could have for alternatives in the way of wood. And I'm open to hearing those if, as and when they materialize.
Thank you, Mike.
I love this bridge, just like so many people do in this town. The feel of it, just seeing the sunset in the distance as you go over it. It's the most important piece of infrastructure in our town. People, take their senior photographs outside of it. It's an important right of way for our coastal residents. I think that's often forgotten here, is that even Gurnett Road has climate issues and is underwater for there are lots of periods of time. So, that's an important piece here, is that this is a right of way, and it not only for beachgoers, but also for those residents. The number one thing here is process. We're still early in it, but we need to continue to garner consensus from the public. There are still many people that I talk to on the sidelines or at the supermarket or wherever that don't even know what's going on. And I don't want them to be blindsided by something they don't want, or a bill they don't want, or as Derek mentioned, a delay that they don't want. We as a select board need to encourage public input, open and transparent discussions about this. And we need to weigh it at every step here. It is early in it. If for the folks that attended that meeting, Mass DOT brought out 30 people that have been working on this project. They tried to design a bridge that, as other than the bottom of it and some of the top, looked a lot like the bridge that we had. I asked immediately, why can't you do more wood? I think we need to keep pushing them on those issues, and we need to keep pushing them on process and look at these alternatives, not just the wood piece of it, but the historic designation if we need to. I know that they put a historic person on the group there, but if we're not happy, we need to push. We need to keep pushing. So I will do that as a select.
We got through everybody, right?
Yeah, can I just add something to that? Just that came to mind, or?
Yeah, no, and the other gentleman had gone over a little bit.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it,
I would just wanted to add that I think, project timeline, like whether it's 10 years, 8 years, whatever that timeline is. Mike, you was speaking earlier about, just how the local economy has suffered with beach access. And I think we really need to consider that as well going forward with any future plans. That, if the bridge is shut down for 8 to 10 years, our local economy is also going to suffer, because of beach access. So just something that I thought of that I think aligns with what you were saying.
All right, we have a good segue here. I had a question from the audience and a question from the list here on coastal resiliency. So this would be to Brian first, I believe. Yes. As one of 78 coastal communities in Massachusetts, Duxbury faces challenges in the face of sea level rise and increasing storm frequency and intensity. As a select board member, what is your role in plotting a course to prepare the town to face these challenges?
That's an excellent question, and a difficult one, given the multiple facets that are involved. The beach, even though we just talked about it recreationally, is a big part of that. One of the things that we've seen very recently is beach nourishment and rebuilding the beach. It's a barrier beach, and it was Mother Nature put it there, and it protects our bay. And on the other side of our bay is hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate that needs to be protected. So one of the things that I look at from the select board perspective is, with respect to Duxbury Beach, is what role does that play in protecting our community as a whole, and looking at it through that lens as just a barrier as opposed to a recreational opportunity. What is our role as a town in funding that? So, for example, you heard that we spend $1 million a year on rent. There are some that would argue that's a bargain, even if we didn't use it at all, because of the protection it provides to the rest of the town. That's a point I've heard made. There's also the actual infrastructure that we have in town. So assuming the beach stays where it is, the waves stay where they are, the sea is still coming up incrementally, and we're a coastal community. We have homes and businesses that are in areas that are of concern. We have a coastal resiliency task force that the select board appointed that advises us as to what we ought to be doing with municipal infrastructure, such as sewer, water, buildings, that sort of stuff, that's necessary. That's from the municipal perspective, but there's also private properties as well that need to be protected. And while we don't directly engage in that, there are things that we could potentially do through zoning, for example, that would perhaps limit additional development in flood-prone areas or sensitive areas. But in terms of what we as a select board can do in the next couple of years for coastal resiliency is continuing doing what we're doing through the Coastal Resiliency Task Force, identifying where the areas of hazard are likely to be, and coming up with solutions to harden our infrastructure, or ideally not put it there in the first place.
Well, since I've been on the select board, we've attacked this issue in many ways. And I can remember the first, second year, the Woods Hole group coming in with a list of priority spots, certain roads and bridges that the town could seek out grants to either raise a road or raise a bridge, because we are battling Mother Nature and a rising sea level. And that's changed. You know, we've gotten studies 20 years ago that said the seas were going to rise by a certain amount. They didn't, thank God. But we still have a problem, and we see it with our own eyes. We see Snug Harbor underwater, and we see our beach getting attacked every single year. I laugh about this because I had a very simple goal for Rainey Reed this year: hire a planner, and he did right away. But that's so important. The Coastal Resiliency Task Force has great goals and ideas, but they need to be seeking grants and implementing those really required a planner. So we're on that path again. We've had planners come and go for the last 3 to 5 years, and I think we're on the right path again. But this isn't all bad news, and I think the town should be proud of something here. We probably supported the largest coastal resiliency project in the last 75 years in this community. This select board, town meeting, and the voters approved a seawall that is protecting 200 homes out on our coast. Not only protecting their homes that some live in year round, but also protecting the real estate and the taxes that derive from it. Not only did we do that, we did it well under budget. That was initially $20 million. It then went down to $15 million. Then because of a resident, we were able to get a grant and work with Rainey and others to get that grant for another $3 million. And there are betterments that those folks are paying out there. So we're looking at under $10 million in the grand scheme of things when it hits your tax bill. And that's really important that we got that infrastructure in place under budget and on time.
There.
Yeah. Not as seasoned as these two gentlemen with regards to coastal resiliency or being involved in that process at Selectboard, but I think it's apparent that, you know, there is some sea level rise. We need to pay attention to that, make sure that we have a strategic plan going forward that combats storm surges, that renourishes the beach, that pays attention to all the residences and infrastructure in the bay, because it's a beach barrier. So I'm anxious to learn more and work with committees to develop a long-term goal for coastal resiliency.
All right, well, so we had, I thought our first lightning round went pretty well, so I have a second lightning round, if that's okay. I didn't tell anyone I was doing this, so I won't get in trouble. I think, Mike, you're up first. So 3 questions again. First question is, where's the first place you would bring an out-of-town visitor in Duxbury? Okay. Second question is, what's your favorite AI model? ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Grok? There's a 5th one I'm not familiar with, but those are the 4. I think I'm ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Grok. And the third question, early voting or election day voting? Well, let us have it.
All right.
This is lightning round.
All right. So, and no offense to any other small businesses or other ice cream shops, but the first place I bring folks from out of town is Farmers. You have to have that Danish ice cream. It's like, it's iconic here in town. And I love the other ice cream shops. And I love the other restaurants in town, but that's certainly something you have to get that ice cream, whether you like it or not. It's been here, and it's part of our town. The second question was,
What's your go-to AI, or maybe you don't use it?
I am a public servant. I might be the only person in this room that still uses a fax machine. So the closest thing to AI that I will even touch is Google, asking them what something is, and all of a sudden it just pops up there. So sorry that I haven't entered this generation yet, but that's as close as I get to it. I don't trust it. I'm a lawyer. I study the law, and I read. I learned how to research using books. So to be having AI tell me how to write a brief is wild to me, because I think that's how you learn. And the third question was
Early voting or election day voting?
gosh, I am a purist. Show up, and this is another thing I inherited from my father. You vote all the time, and you show up at election day. You bring your kids and you show them to vote too. I think it's really important. I think it's great that we have early voting. If people might have to go on, a vacation or something like that, it encourages participation. But I set aside the time for election day. It's an important part of who I am, and I show up on that day.
Right. Derek, so the first question was first place you bring an out-of-town friend. Second question was about your favorite AI tool, and the third one is early voting or election day voting.
Sure. And no offense to any other business in town. Personally, my favorite pizza at a place I would bring a friend would be to Fire and Stone for their pizza. From when they were over in the parking lot at Farmhouse, to across the street. But one of my favorite places, used to be a weekly enjoyment. I've cut back on that a little bit, but yeah. That's okay. Sorry, second question.
Oh, so second one was about ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Grok.
So sometimes I
Preferred,
sometimes at work, I will use Grok just
Okay.
to cite code articles for what I'm dealing with at work, and just possibly to give me a link to get to that article and read it in more depth before following through with my work.
and the third one is early voting or election day voting.
Election day voting. I believe in-person voting is the way to go.
Okay. Brian, bring us on.
So I'm gonna go back to the beach again. Whenever I have a visitor, straight across the bridge, and this is anytime during the year. And we'll go right out on that, the wooden walkway, whether it's open or closed, right off the main parking lot. You can't beat that vista, and I think it tells you everything you need to know, about our community. AI, I'm a perplexity person. I know that was
Oh, I
on the
didn't have
list.
that on the list. Okay.
But sometimes I'll ask them for the opinion that another one gave me and see if I get a same answer or a different answer. Sometimes it's a different answer, which is curious. That should scare you, Mike. And then early or in person, I've historically been a purist, and you get there on election day. However, I'm also risk averse. So now that I have the opportunity to get my vote in early, I did do that last year because you never know what might happen between that and election day. And I'd be concerned if I couldn't cast my ballot at all. So I'd rather do it early than not at all at this point.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, so back to our more substantive questions, although those were, I think, interesting. This one is, first up would be Derek. Long-term planning, question on long-term planning. The bridge, we've talked about the bridge, we talked about Alden School, and PFAS in our wells are all being listed as examples of the effect of deferred maintenance in town facilities, which have contributed to rising capital costs. How would you rate the town's current performance with regard to facilities management? What are your thoughts on how the town is doing with long-term capital planning, including how the town prioritizes projects and balances affordability and sustainability?
Yes, so,
Great question.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things I've been doing is going around trying to meet up with different department heads to find out about their, about the department, the day-to-day operations. So, recently I did talk to facilities and, yeah, it kind of plays out, and I've been watching some select board meetings about the budget capital spending, and I know that we have some capital spending coming up for, an HVAC system for the fire department. And I think I heard maybe several times in that meeting that there's been some neglect to maintenance over the years. So I think as a town, we really need to come up with a comprehensive long-term plan that pays close attention to the facilities in town, whether it be an emergency generator. I think at the Alden School, we just had an issue with some heating coils in the HVAC system that let go, causing some damage there. And I think what I've heard a lot is that maybe they're understaffed and that just the routine maintenance isn't happening. So I think there has to be a good assessment in town, and to walk through a lot of the facilities to kind of get a grasp on what needs replacement and just have a good plan, long-term plan going forward, addressing those issues. So, I did have a good conversation with facilities this week and, just to learn a little more about their department. So I think that's crucial that we invest the time, and somehow we'll find a way to set aside money so we're not so reactive to these, in some cases, catastrophes, and being more proactive. And so I think, I don't know, I just think in talking with facilities, that's something that it kind of calls out to me because that's kind of what I do in my day-to-day life, working with those types of equipment and stuff. So I have a good grasp and understanding of it. Thank you.
Right.
We are head and shoulders above today where we were a few years ago. We now have a facilities manager that we did not have in the past. Facilities maintenance has been probably one of the flat spots that our community's had over the years. We've addressed that. It's not fixed yet, but we've addressed it through hiring a professional who knows what the heck she's talking about, has taken inventory of all our municipal properties, can articulate to us as a board what the priorities ought to be in terms of what needs to be addressed now versus what can wait a little while longer with some more duct tape and bubble gum. We're a very frugal community, and most municipalities are, for obvious reasons. The trade-off is stuff goes without being repaired when it should, and then it breaks, and then you have a more expensive issue to fix. But in terms of where we are now versus even 5 years ago, I would say we're definitely on the right path for sure. We still have a lot of work ahead of us as we get to a backlog or address the backlog of many years of deferred maintenance. But I'm very proud of what this board, the town manager, have been able to do in putting together a team that can address this very important issue, because it's the little things that creep up on you and break, and then they become big ticket items that we don't want to see more of going forward.
Right?
If you had a chance to watch, I think it was our couple of meetings ago, about our capital expenses. There was a discussion about replacing, I believe it was the HVAC units in one of the schools, but it underscored an issue that we've had in the past, is that we buy all these things, but then we don't maintain them. We are very lucky now to have facilities director in Katie that just is a workhorse. She is in charge of all of our buildings and our schools and works with the custodians. But it is a very, very lean department. She's identifying critical issues, laying out a plan for them for our fiscal advisory committee, but it's not enough. And it's important to invest in folks like her, because I don't want to be sticking the bill on the next generation when they're like, oh, why didn't we maintain an HVAC unit? You know, we paid all this money for it. Why aren't we maintaining it? It's crazy to me that we haven't made those investments in the past, but we're doing it now. And I think we need to continue it. Second part to that question was about capital planning. Throughout my first two terms, do we have a plan? We do have a plan, or fiscal advisory has a plan. They discuss it with the community every town meeting, and they discuss it with the select board shortly there before. But one of the goals that I had for our town manager was to have that plan in front of us as a select board. Fernando brought it up at a meeting as well. That's not a hard ask, and I think the fiscal advisory and the finance committee would like to have that conversation, because yes, those committees are doing excellent work, but as a select board, we are the policy body, and we are your voice. We are elected by you, and we should be expressing that policy to those committees so that we have a plan going forward that is representative of what our community wants.
Okay, thank you. A couple you mentioned the town manager. A question about overseeing the town manager. A key function of the select board is employing the town manager. Please identify how you do or would approach this function. How do you define the boundary between the board's policy setting role and the town manager's administrative role? How do you or would you ensure that the town manager keeps the select board fully informed about key operations and developments in a timely manner before they become controversial issues? How do you address sensitive decisions or actions by the town manager that you don't necessarily agree with? I believe, Brian, you're up next, right?
Did you wait for him to leave?
I know, I felt bad. It was literally the next question. He must have known.
I'll do the best I can in 2 minutes, Josh. The most important thing to recognize is Rainey doesn't have 5 individual bosses. He has one boss, and that's the select board speaking through a majority. So at least 3 of us have to agree on any particular issue before it becomes something that Rainey has to deal with. Now, he hears from us constantly, 5 different voices, but in terms of directing the town manager, and that's the important word, Josh, that you used, it's done by committee, by what we do in our select board meetings. That's the opportunity that we have to come together and tell Rainey what our policy is, what we need him to do, what we want done differently. In terms of communication, at least for the 3 years I've been on the board, I very much appreciate the communications I get from Rainey. These aren't things that are necessarily going out to the public. It's a heads up to the board about, there was a fire over here, or there's some issue going on. It's not just to keep us aware of things that are going on in the community so that as we get calls from concerned citizens like, hey, what's going on down the street with this project? We generally have, and if we haven't been involved already, we've been alerted by Rainey that these things are going on. So I personally appreciate that. It's something I would expect, but I still appreciate that he does that. In terms of difficult conversations, I think all five of us would agree that, you know, we don't agree 100% of the time, certainly with each other, but not with the town manager as well. Again, I go back to it's not reporting to five different bosses and keep five different bosses happy. But we do have a formal review process that we do every year. We set forth goals. I mentioned it at the outset of the program that we set goals for the town manager by committee every year. We review those and we measure him against those goals. As much as we would all love to be exceeds expectations on every review that we've ever had, that's not realistic. And Rainey's no different. I think he's a great resource for the town. But he's human and there are typically opportunities for improvement every year, at least the 3 years I've been on the board, or the 2 years that I've done a review so far. I think the discussions we have with him, and it's typically the chair that meets with Rainey, and Mike's been the chair, I'm currently the chair. And we meet with him and discuss the performance review, and it's a very open back and forth. And he's a professional, and we expect that he'll approach it professionally. He does. I've been pleased with the process. Did I answer the question? I feel like there's some other piece.
I think.
I know time's up, but
You got it. Mike?
I think it's important to recognize that Duxbury is a little different here. We do have a town manager as opposed to a town administrator. We do have a town manager act. We don't run the town as a select board. We're almost like a board of directors. If you look at a town like Marshfield or another town that has a TA, their select board hires and fires police chiefs and of the nature. They have additional responsibilities. We have a professional here that we hire and is responsible for all of those duties. What we've tried to, and when I joined the board, it went from 3 to 5. So there's been some growing pains too. Having 5 separate people from different diverse backgrounds that have all with different priorities, we've had to work through those and work to communicate those with Mr. Reed. I can tell you that if I call him and he doesn't answer it right away, I probably get a call 2 hours later. That's how I deal with a lot of difficult decisions or things that I want on the agenda or questions that I have following a meeting. He is very responsive in that respect. And I can tell you this process that we have now is not only important to the community and the select board, it's also important to Mr. Reed, because what we're doing right now with setting goals is we're outlining the policies and priorities that we have as a community, and we're giving him a roadmap so that he's not surprised 6 months down the road that something was in the back of our mind or in the back of our neighbors' minds that was important to us. And he's diligent about it. If there's something he can't meet, he brings it forward and he says, that's impossible. We can't do that this year for whatever reason. We don't have a planner or something like that. He's absolutely responsive to those goals. And now we're in the process. I think it's our second year where we're actually judging him based on those goals. And I think it's something that's been a positive for Mr. Reed as well as for all of us and the community at large.
Eric?
I think, could you repeat that one more time? Sorry.
Sure, it's about a key function of the select board is employing the town manager. Can you identify how you would approach that function?
Well, I have not had that experience yet, so, or really any experience with Rainey, but, yeah, I would basically operate it as a select board, discussing matters and empowering him to make decisions, as a town manager. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have really any experience,
Okay.
at this point.
That's fine. All right, so I have one more sort of formal question, but I think before we get to that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I'm just trying to collect some thoughts. I just don't
gonna
have the
give everybody
same
a chance to-
experience to
to,
kind
uh,
of
do a-
experience what these guys have experienced. So I really, I mean, I know what the roles and the duties are. I just don't have the experience to, kind of talk about.
Of course. I was just gonna, we have one more sort of formal question. Before I do, I wanted to kind of get to some of the audience questions. And I think what we'll do here is just kind of have it open swim and whoever wants to answer, and we'll let everybody respond. This is two questions, but they're kind of related, so I'm gonna read them both. With trust in government seemingly at a low all-time level, what will you do to build trust in local government? That's the first question. The second question, just because I think it's related, what will you do to increase resident knowledge and participation in local government? So I can read that one more time if you like.
I'm happy to
Okay.
jump on that one. Trust in government is everything. If we don't have trust in government, then it doesn't work. So that's fundamental. And where I probably overuse this term, but municipal government is where the rubber meets the road. It's where your streets are plowed, usually. It's where anything you think of as to what your community does, things that directly affect your quality of life, it's typically provided by your municipality here in Duxbury. So you have to have that trust. One of the ways that I think our board engages the public and fosters the trust is accessibility. Mike made a point earlier that any citizen who wishes to be heard, if they're not calling us directly already, come up to the microphone and open forum. We don't put a time limit on it. Most communities do. I probably shouldn't say that, but we welcome folks to bring to us whatever is on their mind, and we will endeavor to address it. Maybe not that same night, but at least it goes on a list, and we know that it's an issue, and we get to it. I think that, I hope through opportunities like this, that you understand that whoever is running as a new candidate, or people who are already on the board, have the town's best interests in mind. This is not a lucrative position, and we're doing it because we love our community, and we want it to be a better place. So I would like to think that the folks in town would see it for what it is, and that we're simply servants of the community, elected directly by the community members to keep Duxbury great, and do what we can to improve where possible. There is one area, and this touches on the second question, that I think we can do better, and we have plans to do better, and that's communication. We're still live, right? So maybe I should be careful. Our website is functional, but it's no beacon of great information. Everything's there if you know where to look. We can do a much better job in providing information to folks in town through our website primarily. There are other ways as well, social media. We'll get to that. That's a little more tricky. But in terms of being a resource and folks having the opportunity to get information, to push information out, and just to be as frictionless as possible, so that you feel that you're informed and that you're able to communicate with the town, and you're able to get timely information. That is something that we're working on. We're very concerned about, and we have plans in place with a vendor, potentially with some vendors, to come in and help us with that, because it may sound easy. Oh, just update the website, but for all the, I don't know who does coding in here, but anybody who does the coding and all the things that go into making a website useful to you and informative, we need professionals to do that, and we don't have that in-house. So it's something that is absolutely on our radar, and I think that will go a long way, Josh, to answer your question, albeit roundabout. That I think will help foster trust in government when you have a better portal of getting into seeing exactly what's going on.
Mike and Derek, open to either one of you. You want to?
Yeah, I'll go. Oh, sure. You might read it.
Sure. Well, with trust in government seemingly at an all-time low, what will you do to build trust in local government? And then the second part of that is, what will you do to increase resident knowledge and participation in local government?
Yeah, so I think maybe just to build off what Brian said is, well, first and foremost, I think I want to listen to residents, hear what they say, and then have thoughtful, meaningful discussion with other select board members, to make sure that their voices are heard. And as Brian said, one way to do that is through the town website. I feel as though I'm pretty savvy and I do have a difficult time navigating, trying to find documents and other items on the website, so. I'm in agreement that we do need some updating on there and to make things front and center for folks to easily find and to be communicated to, but. Yeah, I mean, and transparency, yeah, so. Just, yeah, I would like to hear from residents, I'd like to have discussions, I'd like to bring those things front and center to board meetings. And then I would like it on public display for everyone to be able to engage and follow along as matters in town unfold.
Mike, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, trust, like reputation, is something that's earned. And I get that as a lawyer. You can spend a lifetime earning an excellent reputation and lose it like that with a judge. And that's how I've been trained. That's how I live my career, is just being open and honest with the people that I work with, the people that I'm in front of, and the community. And I think that's something that you can count on with me, is that I try to be as honest and transparent with folks as possible. I talked about leading with empathy. I think it's really important to encourage public input and to let it all out, never cut it off, and just I know Brian, we had a meeting last night going for like 3.5 hours or something like that. If you don't want to watch it, that's fine, but for the people that are there, it's so important to have their voices heard. And one of the benefits of having this select board of 5 is that we are always pressing Rainey to put things on the agenda, so it is out in the public, so that decisions aren't made outside of the public's eyes, and that we can discuss them and deliberate about them in open forums. So I think we should continue that, and I totally expect that it will. And I think that's how we will earn the public's trust. I am mindful of the fact that there are elements from national levels on about mistrust in government. But look, we're volunteers. I live right down the road. I got kids in the schools. I'm a volunteer. I'm a taxpayer. I love this town. That's why I'm doing this. So from that piece of this is very different than the national politic world. As far as communication, Brian hit the nail on the head there. We can always do much to improve. I think Mr. Reed would have would have preferred to be making those updates about the storm, not on Facebook where people could bash them every 30 seconds or thank them. But that was the tool that he felt was the best way to communicate with the community in the height of that storm and to keep people informed. But we can always do better. And I'm encouraged by our IT department to seek out these opportunities through grants to improve our website and other communication methods. That we can always do better.
All right, we had a couple questions that were sort of related about the override. So I'm going to read them both. And again, whoever feels like they want to jump in. First part was, what will the override do for specific demographic groups and age groups? And the second part, second question related to that was, why are there 8 new positions in the budget if we don't have the funds for that? So does anyone want to try to tackle either one of those? Again, what will the override do for different demographic or age groups? And someone questioning why there are 8 new positions in the budget if we don't have the funds for that.
First question is, for which demographics will
I think the question is, what is the benefit to folks, in the different demographic groups in the town, senior, younger, family, and so forth. That's the gist of the question.
I'll start. I think, and what we've implored by our discussions throughout the budget season is to really respect the demand that's being put on our departments and ask them what they need to meet that demand. And I think, and we pushed back. There was a request for an assistant planner when we didn't have a planner, and I pushed back on that. Certainly, it would be a nice thing to have. But when we finally even got a planner, he didn't recommend that either. So we do push back, but to answer that question about demographics, and Brian talked about, we're trying to preserve a beautiful town that has a number of resources that people have spent a lot of time, energy, and money on for a number of years, and keep that going forward for generations. So I don't think that we're cherry picking various demographics. Everybody uses the beach, everybody uses the library, everybody uses our facilities. These are things that people use throughout the town. So I really do feel like our budget reflects the needs of all the demographics in our community. As far as what was the other question?
Someone asked me why if there are in fact 8 new positions.
Yeah, it's the same question. I year in, year out, our department heads get the message that we're asking for level services going forward. What does that mean to your department? And for some of those departments, when we talked about facilities here, how lean they are to maintain the services in a facilities department of one is really, really challenging. She's in charge of all the schools, in addition to the custodians and all of the municipal buildings that we have in town. So to maintain level services, that's a tough question for a department head like that. So an additional position like that, yes, it's an additional position that we do not have as far as our revenue stream can meet, but it's a service that is critically demanded of the community. And I'm not going to go through each and every position that we've added here, but police and fire have constantly been asking for more. Police has had the same size police department since the 1970s, and the town is now at 18,000 people. And things are a lot more complex. Our fire department is dealing with a multiple effect of EMS calls that pull them in one direction. Well, there's house fires over here where we're requiring support from other communities constantly. You can check the feed that they have on Facebook. And they're asking for, I think, 1 additional firefighter, was it?
I believe it's 2 police, 2 fire.
Yeah, and it's, so, and he even, that's not enough, but that was his ask. I would suggest to the community that these are reflective of the services that are demanded and needed in our community. And I think we've done taken a hard look at this and tried to scale it back as much as we can, not as much as we can, but in a way that's responsible for the community.
I'll just jump on that. I think those questions can be combined in a certain way, and Mike touched upon this with respect to public safety. In 1970, well, from 1970 to now, the population of town has roughly doubled. We have roughly the same number of police officers and firefighters as we did in 1970. So one of the proposals in the override budget is 2 new police officers, 2 new firefighters. To Mike's point, the chief wants more. Both chiefs want more. Can we afford this? Well, town meeting will decide first, and the voters will decide whether it's something we want. What demographic does that support? I would argue that supports the entire town. Doesn't matter how old you are. If you have a medical emergency, you've got a crime in progress or something, you want to make sure that you've got a first responder coming to help you, regardless of where you live in town and what your age is. There's another component of the budget, and maybe this is where the question asker was going. There's about $800,000 going to the schools. What is that necessary? I mean, we're going to have that discussion. It's already in the override budget. I suppose you could make the argument that, that component is directed to the school kids. But there's also money in the override budget for the center, formerly known as the senior center. Well, that's not going to school kids, probably. That's going to the seniors. So and it's Article 5B, and it's on our website. If you care to look at it, that is one of the things you can find on the website, is the annual town meeting warrant and the special town meeting warrant. If you go through it, you will see, call out in Article 5B exactly what we're asking for in terms of, it doesn't say positions specifically, but you can extrapolate based upon the money that's being asked for, exactly where it's going. But if I were to just describe it to you in a thumbnail, over half of it, more than half of it, is public safety and schools just by itself. Some of it's debt service, some of it is miscellaneous administrative stuff that is not sexy, but it's in the back, sort of back office, town hall operations, where we have some really talented, hardworking people. Well, everybody in there is talented and hardworking, but they're stretched pretty thin, and there's only so much you can push people to give some more effort before they say, you know what, I'm gonna go to another community. So part of this budget is to also backfill some of that, or to alleviate some of that real pain that folks are feeling at town hall. So I would say this addresses constituencies across town, and in terms of the eight bodies, I can account for at least half of them with police and fire.
Derek, do you wanna? add to that?
Well, I think I've already said that, so I'm not an advocate for the override this time around, and that's not to say I'm anti-override. I just think we're talking about public safety, and again, in schools, and I think those departments, we should really look and maybe scrutinize the budget so that they're funded out of the 5A budget. I mean, if they're core and essential and they touch everybody in town, then I think, you know, that should be a priority, is getting them funded in that budget. If they need 2 new positions for police, 2 new positions for fire, then I think we need to, if we really need those positions, then let's get them in the 5A budget. So, you know, that we have the proper coverage and public safety in town, along with the schools. I mean, yeah, I think in time, perhaps if I was elected, I mean, I would love to learn more about the school budget. I mean, as it is now, I think it makes up at least 50% of our operational budget. And so when we talk about, does it touch everybody in town? I mean, it does touch the students. It perhaps might not touch the seniors, but they have the senior center. And kind of on that note, I was recently asked, and I was trying to look into specifically the Council on Aging in the senior center. And I know that there's maybe a rebranding or a name change for the senior center. And I was trying to get some more information about it, but most residents that I talked to knew nothing about it. So I think that's part of the transparency process I was also talking about. But those institutions, you know, they've been around since perhaps the 50s and the 60s. And they identify a particular population, and I think we owe it to the seniors. And I'm setting up a meeting with the senior center to try to address that and learn more about it. But I think that's important, if we're gonna talk about, you know, what money, I'm sorry, yeah, just who's the override touch and who does it benefit? I think it has to, if we're gonna ask for an override, it should extend and benefit every resident in town and not just a select few. So, thank you.
Okay, all right, so we're getting towards the end of our time here, and I'm told by, we get kicked out at 8 o'clock, so we're gonna try to squeeze in one more question, and then I will give everybody a chance, just a quick closing statement, or if you wanna mention something. We had a formal question, but I did get an audience question that was fairly similar. It's probably a little bit of a challenge to answer in 2 minutes, but do your best, okay? So here you go. Duxbury is viewed as a wants versus capacity type of town. Namely, Duxbury is in a classic New England bind, okay? We have aging infrastructure, high expectations, limited commercial tax base, rising enrollment projections, and a tax structure. Can't read this word. It's dependent on homeowners. What will you do to address this? So that's a loaded lot in one question, but I think it gets to the broader role of the select board, which is what our last question was going to. So just to be fair, I think.
Jump on that hand grenade, sure. No, I'm happy to answer it. It's a classic question of needs versus wants. I mean, it's just like you at home. I would love to I'd love to eat out at Sam's every night. I love their food, but it's a little pricey. And I have to live within my means. The community is the same way. We know how much we're gonna make every year because it's set by law, and you have to pay it. And otherwise take the house, but you have to pay it. So we know what our budget is. The challenge is the things that make us a desirable community, the reasons we live here, those are typically the things that aren't specifically core to the town. Every city and town has police. They all have fire. They all have libraries. But there are things about Duxbury's police, fire, libraries, beach, everything. Think of three things that you love about Duxbury. And it's gonna be paid for somehow. And we have to make choices every year, and we do make choices every year. And some people are happy, some people are not, and then the next year, maybe the roles are reversed and the thing you want gets passed and the thing somebody else wants doesn't. But we have to, that's what town meeting's all about, that's what we have these discussions between our needs and our wants. We can only afford so much, and there are very rare exceptions, like this year, well, last year failed, but this year, where we ask the taxpayers to pay more, and we feel that it's justified. We wouldn't do it just because. And we need to demonstrate to you that we've squeezed every penny out of every place that we can, and I would expect town meeting to hold us to that as well. But it's really the classic issue of how much of what we all collectively love about Duxbury can we afford? And if we cannot afford that within the levy limit, then what do we as a community want to not do anymore? Who are we gonna cut? We're in the service business, so most of your interactions with the town are with people. And people, as terrific as they are in Duxbury, they're expensive. And if you look at our budget between fire, police, well, basically all of public safety, DPW, the schools, and when we count in debt service, which is huge, and our employee benefits, just those alone, without getting into salaries of other departments, is about 87, almost 90% of our budget. So the question becomes, what do we not want to do anymore? And that's a fair point. We can't just tax everybody out of existence. None of us would live here anymore. And that's not the right decision. And it's an excellent question, because that gets to who you want on the select board, because you need to trust those people to make the decisions that reflect your values and the decisions you would make. And of course, we don't substitute our judgment for you. When you reach out to us, we take that into account. But I hope you're aware that we think of all of you as we're making decisions and what's in the best interest of Duxbury. As I said in my local scene interview, it's not about what I think or what the loudest voice in the room is saying. It's what's in the best interest of the community, and that's through the collective voices of all of us. And it's most apparent at town meeting, because that's where the decisions actually happen, and then the ballot booth in the rare instances that we propose an override.
Thank you, Mike.
I mentioned it before, but something that our finance director has really imposed on this community, and she is fantastic, is that we do have a revenue issue here. And it's beach sticker sales and other sales and things like that, but it's also on the state end, state aid, particularly with the schools. I would love to see more work done on formulas for suburban schools with the circuit breaker for special needs. That has a real impact, not just on the schools, but on our side on the town side of the budget as well. But I think I talked about this, that fiscal responsibility is something that we encourage year long. And we said we start with the budget goals, then we move on to the budget letter, and then we're asking for a look at the budget before the town manager's budget before he produces it in December. And I think we need to work at that and continue to improve that process so that there's more public input, but also with capital planning too, and reviewing our financial policies. We have excellent volunteers on both our finance committee and our fiscal advisory committee, and we also have financial policies that were adopted years ago that we as a select board should understand too, because not only is it important to understand the operating side of this budget, but it's important to plan and understand how these capital projects and the excluded debt will ultimately impact your tax bills. And we have to be mindful of that, what's rolling off in the coming years, And that's how, in this New England, I forgot what the phrase was there, with aging infrastructure, that's how you can best plan and manage your capital projects.
Derek, do you wanna?
Do you mind reading one more time?
Sure, it was kind of, in essence, needs versus wants. That
Needs
kind of debate.
versus
That's,
wants.
if I could sum it up.
Sure.
How do you balance that? How do you address that as a select board member?
Yeah, I think these are challenging times. I had said earlier, there's a lot of economic uncertainty at the state and the federal level. And it kind of really squeezes municipalities locally. So we definitely feel the squeeze. And that's why I said, like, I'm not actually anti-override. I just think that, we have November elections coming up in the state. I don't know how things are gonna play out with that. Maybe there'll be some relief with our energy bills. That's really, hitting families hard. And not everybody in town is gonna feel the same impact, just some may feel it more than others. So I think as a select board member, you have to consider all of those and don't make any decisions lightly. So perhaps this year, I'm gonna back up for a second, because I also want to appeal to the young families in town, because my family was a young family in town back in 2008, raising 3 children. I know full day kindergarten has been talked about, and, I don't know why we haven't started that process in Duxbury sooner. I know that a lot of the communities, and from what I hear, we're one of 11 towns in the state that perhaps don't have full day kindergarten. And I think that a lot of those towns are heavily subsidized by the state. So Duxbury being primarily property tax based, we're contributing to that. So if there is a way to explore that opportunity, and again, I think we go first for the 5/8 budget, and then if totally impossible, we should explore other options. But I don't think it's unrealistic to offer that in the community. And it will help a lot of young parents who are struggling to work 2 jobs and an house. So I don't want to sound anti-override. I just think I want to be part of the process where we can find perhaps better opportunities, more discussion to get us there. I think I'll leave it there.
Okay. Well, that's good. I think we basically got to all of our questions in some form or another. I'm gonna give everybody a chance to do just a very brief minute or two, just closing statement, whatever your final pitch to the voters would be. Mike, we'll start with you first and then rotate. I'll give you a second to collect your thoughts. While I'm doing that, I just wanted to mention that if you're really engaged, you want to tune in on Thursday. Again, a reminder, we'll have a forum on the override that Fernando Guitar will moderate, so we can ask lots more questions, more specifically drill down on that. And then there's a whole series of other forums on school committee candidates and the other candidates for office. So again, I want to thank the folks here at the library for hosting. Thank all of you for joining us. Before you go, though, I want to give a final word to the candidates. So Mike, do you want to take it away with the final thoughts?
Serving this community for the last 5 years has been one of the most rewarding parts of my life. I really enjoy it. I love this town, and I'm encouraged every day by things like the plowing of their own, the snow blowers, and this is a town that has a wealth of volunteers and wonderful people, and I'm humbled to be able to serve this community, and I really hope that I've earned your trust. I hope that I can earn your vote by the 28th. We do have vote by mail, early voting, or my preference, show up in person on election day. All of them count equally, and I would ask you to vote for me if I've earned it from you. Thank you very much.
That's fine. There.
Sure. I just want to thank everyone for coming out this evening and giving me this opportunity. I will say my nerves did get the best of me, so I apologize for that. In life, I think most of the decisions that I make are pretty thoughtful. I like to deep dive into things before coming to a conclusion. And that's more or less how I would like to approach the select board, is making sure we have all the information, that we're making the most absolute informed decision for the residents of the town. And I just do that day in and day out. I've done it my whole life. Just maybe this would be at a new level, so I would appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, that's it. I'd like to thank Josh and the library and Brian and Mike. Yeah, take some courage to be up here, so.
Brian, wanna close that?
Thank you. How much time do we have?
Good time's out, man.
All right, no, tough back.
30 seconds.
It's an honor and a privilege to serve on the board. I first want to encourage any of you to please volunteer. We have boards and committees that need volunteers in town. We have 50 roughly boards and committees. I know we feel like a sleepy bedroom town. We are to a certain extent, but the reason it's so great is because of the people who do work on a regular basis for the town in a volunteer capacity. So I first implore you to please volunteer. The talent bank form, I believe, in the warrant. For myself, it's been an honor and a privilege to have served in an elected capacity in this community for 15 years. First dozen as a planning board member and the last 3 on the select board. One thing we didn't get to touch on, but that I'm passionate about, is the implementation of our town's comprehensive plan. Back in 2017, the community undertook 2 years worth of efforts to gather what's important to the town in terms of our long-term development. That doesn't mean necessarily building things, but it's in terms of what services we should provide, what amenities we should have. And that's on the town's website at the very top, if you care. It's called Envision Duxbury. But that's something I was heavily involved in as a member of the planning board. And now that I'm a member of the select board, one of the things that I'm excited to see and to see through and to support in my capacity is the implementation of that plan. You say, well, it was 2019, why isn't it implemented already? Good question. COVID happened and we didn't have a full-time planner that was focused on this for quite a while until recently. We now have a new planner. We've got a tremendous volunteers on board, all focused on implementing the comprehensive plan. It goes on for pages and pages and pages of spreadsheets of exactly what sorts of things we're going to do, but it's going to address things like housing diversity for our seniors. That's a big issue in the community. You've got the family home, but then once you move out, where are you going to live? If you want to stay in Duxbury, otherwise you need to go to the Pine Hills or someplace. We need to address that somehow. Comprehensive plan addresses that. Economic development. We like to think of ourselves as again, a sleepy bedroom community, but we do have a vibrant business community in Duxbury. And in fact, the Duxbury Chamber of Commerce has recently become very active. And I encourage you to visit their website. But there's opportunities for more economic development in Duxbury as well. Comprehensive plan addresses that. Groundwater protection is another issue. You think of anything that's important to you in the community. Open space protection, recreation, it's all there. It's going to be implemented over time. But the reason I'm bringing this up is with me continuing to be on the select board, and I ask for your vote, is that it's something in particular that I've been very, to overuse a word, passionate about for years and years. And I think it's going to be a great thing for the town. It's going to be a great thing for the residents of the town, and it will help us grow and thrive. And hopefully it will help us alleviate some of the financial pressures that we find ourselves in, like so many other communities in Massachusetts and in the South Shore. Please come out and vote, as Mike mentioned, whether it's sort of old school on the 28th or in person, early or by mail. But please do come out and vote. And I ask for one of your votes to be for me. I sincerely appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our forum. I can get the audience to join me in a round of applause for our candidates.